What's going on, Internet? Scott here. I am at the IGF Pavilion at GDC with my very best brand new friend, Nixie Pixel, and we're here to talk about some indie games.
Yes, befitting of the IGF Pavilion.
Very befitting. So, indie games are kind of huge now, and
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. They've come a long way in the past couple of years. What were they like a couple of years ago compared to now?
Well, a couple years ago. Man, I was thinking Oregon Trail, but I think that it's like the same process was existent, even a couple years ago, where you were like, hey, this is my labor of love, this is my baby, and you work 80-hour weeks. They actually say, like, if you work for yourself, you work double the amount. And so, like, you basically put it all on the line, and you either are faced with the whole, do I let a publisher, do I sell my soul to a publisher, or am I like Oregon Trail and become abandonware that anyone can use and die of dysentery?
Now, as an artist, why did you go the indie route versus being a slave for the man?
Well, the great thing is, it's all about the creative control, right? Like, we're working on something that we want to do, that comes from the studio and group of people that you enjoy working with. So that just makes the experience fun.
A lot of games here were funded by Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and a couple of years ago, crowdsourcing didn't exist.
Yeah.
So how has that kind of changed the whole industry?
I think it's strange because for years and years we've been making games, but all of a sudden we realized that the actual gamers would pay for a game in advance. And I think that's caused an epiphany. So you have Kickstarter, you have the spin-offs of Kickstarter, like the game-specific Kickstarter, and for the first time ever, you get to vote and amazing feedback. They have beta testing that they're opening up, and it's like you get this real connection with your devs, and you say, this is what I want, and they give you rewards, and it's just kind of like, it's a lot more familial, and it really hits right here.
Right in the heart space. Right in the heart space. What are some of the challenges that an independent developer comes up against other than, money?
Well, I mean, basically everything that you take for granted at a big company, like testing, I had to, in order to test my game, which involves multiple players at once, I had to invite my friends over to my house for a potluck, every couple of weeks, so I could get enough people together to test it. And, if it broke in a bad way, then sometimes I'd have to, people ended up staying, but often I couldn't fix it in time, and so I would have to then work on something afterwards, and the next time they came around, hope that it was fixed properly. The other thing is just getting people to know about your game, because you don't have a huge marketing budget or ads or anything.
It's lonely.
Is it? How lonely?
It's pretty lonely.
What's a typical day in your life?
I don't know. That might be. I don't want to give you more than you're bargaining for. I mean, I don't want to.
I'm all in.
To embarrass you, but okay. So this is part of it. I wear a necktie and I get all fancy pants, because otherwise I'd be so ashamed. So it's like I have to lie to myself that I'm going to work. And so I drink coffee and I pet my cat and I have him look at the game and I ask him questions. And I was broke forever until recently. So the money is. I wouldn't expect the money to be very good for most folks. This is kind of an absurd thing that's happened with Cart Life. Totally unlikely and implausible, but I guess it's only really worth doing for its own reward. So it's maybe a strange thing to undertake as a career, but as a hobby, it's very fulfilling.
Maybe the disadvantage is it's a lot of work, and a lot of the time you're doing stuff that you don't really know how to do properly initially, and you have to learn a lot on the job, basically, in all disciplines. But at the same time, that's kind of what makes it fun, too. You're not just kind of doing some very specialized task over and over on some gigantic project with tons of people. It's more like everybody gets to be very involved in the design of the whole thing. So it's just pretty fun to be able to do that with a smaller group like that.
Would you sell out?
So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with making money.
Right.
And a lot of indies do need to eat and pay their bills. So I think it's a loaded question. I think I have no problem being sustainable. I'm trying to be sustainable with my games, and if I need to sell an idea or work with another company to do that, and it makes sense, then of course I'll do it. But I don't think it'll make me any less indie or anything.
It's crazy that you can pay the bills drawing cartoons and playing games and making games.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's not. I'm not concerned about a loss of some credibility or something. No. My bigger concern is that now I can justify the 14 hours at a time that I play of FTL, because I tell myself it's research.
Yep.
That's the worst part. So I'm this is my job now. And so I just sit there and like get like smelly and play Dwarf Fortress for like forever, and I never leave the house. It's terrible. So like that's the pitfall that I'm more concerned about, but I'll take your money.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really want to make something that I don't believe in. I mean, I used to work in game development, not as an indie, like at a larger development studio. And I don't really see that as being like bad, as long as you believe in the projects you're working on. Like there are some really big studios, even working for big publishers, that are making really great products. And I don't really see a problem with, working on a team like that, as long as you really believe in the thing you're working on.
So finally, are we reaching an oversaturation point with indie games where we may also be heading towards a console decline and possibly a crash like what happened in 1983 when all these independent game developers came in and made really bad Atari 2600 games, and it killed the industry? Are we headed that way with independent game makers and designers making subpar games that are turning everyone off to gaming in general?
Ooh, that's interesting. I think it's probably more cyclical than like the 80s, because it's probably like, but I honestly feel like as gamers, we've nothing but like increased our standards in games, and I think we'll enforce that with crowdsourcing and things like that.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that's coming out, even though there's a lot, some of it is of a very high level of quality, and I think as long as that continues to happen, people will be attracted to it.
I'm two minds of it. I think we all are. Is that, yeah, there's so much content and there's so much good stuff. We don't have time to play it all, but that's a pretty good problem to have. And so I don't know. I'm not really concerned with like. I don't think shovelware is too much of a problem. I don't think like derivative stuff is too much of a problem. I like cover songs, So if there's just more food on the table, and you can just walk down the infinite buffet, deciding what you want to eat tonight, that's a pretty good problem to have, I guess.
But as far as the decline of consoles, I actually think there's going to be like this huge shift, right? So you're going to have the indie games kind of pushing their own indie game specific consoles, because it's like really, when people are indie, like they're really hardcore about it. It's definitely that hipster phenomenon. I don't want to say it, but I just said it. I went there. I left my glasses though.
Good, smart move. You want to talk about Linux games?
I would like to, actually. Really awesome announcement. Unity 3D, which is the developer platform. It's one of the engines that a lot of indies use. They're going Linux. So they're going to make it just as easy for you to publish a Linux game as a Mac or a Windows game. So I'm really excited to talk about it. And you know what? I'm actually going to do a video about it. I've decided right here and now, I declare I'm making a video on Friday.
All right.
This Friday.
So you can check out Nixie's video on Friday, and you can watch TFN every single day. For more TFN, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in a couple hours, because there's so much here for me to cover still, and they never let us leave.
Get over here.
Oh, I'm getting called somehow. Oh. Fatality.
Oh, you're a big baby.
Friendship?
Again?
Again? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
GDC's over.